therefore, we are going to call to order a regular scheduled meeting of the Aransas County Navigation District for July the 17th, 2023, and it's 9 o'clock. So let us stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and honor the Texas flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. And again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Okay. We've done that. I don't have any citizens to be heard. So therefore, we'll go directly into our open meeting, subjects for deliberation and or action. Item number 1, approve the minutes of the regular meeting, which was held on July the 1st, 2023. We have all received copies of those minutes. Do we have any amendments?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We did that one. Item number 2, approve accounts payable list. Keith.
Yes. You have an itemized list of the payables with a total of $89,951.65. We tried to put a pretty good explanation beside each one of those line items, but if there's any further explanation, I'll try to do so.
The only thing I'm going to ask is make the print a little larger. No, it's just the lighting in here. It could be because I'm old, right? I mean, it's the lighting. But yeah, if you could do that, I'd appreciate it.
We'll see what we can do.
Is 26291 your new dump trailer?
Yes.
Cool.
Our trailers, well, the salt takes a toll on them.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, we have other utility trailers that we haul mowers on, and that we haul, I hate to say it, trash back and forth on the beach. So we have a variety of trailers that we utilize.
Well, and the good point is that we replaced a, $40,000 dump truck with a $8,000 trailer.
A lot more than 40 these days.
So that was the cool part. So good job on that.
Any other questions concerning the accounts payable? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the accounts payable for July 17, 2023.
I'll second the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think I heard everyone, so that's good. Item number 3, accounts treasurer's report, or approve the treasurer's report. Keith again.
Yes, and I'm gonna see if I can do this without stumbling over all these numbers. Beginning cash, $8,100,510.89. Receipts, $2,551,061.95. Interest was $1,120.30. Disbursements, $4,721,365.68 for a total of $5,931,327.46. In our emergency fund, we have $1 million set aside, and in our bulkhead fund, we have $59,000 set aside for available funds of $4,872,327.46.
And of course, we're going to ask about the disbursements.
Yes.
Well,
FEMA
you know
projects.
what we're doing on these big projects.
Well, I know about them, but explain.
Yes. Right now, we are in the middle of some of the largest projects that we had going on for the Hurricane Harvey recovery. We hope to see those funds come back to us in the way of reimbursements, but that will come back at the speed of FEMA. And I don't know if we have a calculation for what that is, but there's a lot of paperwork and things that go forth that they require of us, and we do that. And I have a regular meeting with FEMA every Wednesday for 6.5 years in standing. So we stay on top of that. So thanks for asking.
So I'd just like to point out between this month, which is 4.7 million, and last month, which was almost 2.2 million, that's almost 7 million we've spent
Overall,
in the last,
yeah.
in the last 2 months. That's a lot.
Well, and we're blessed.
For us, that's a lot of money.
We're blessed that we have that ability.
We are.
Well, I was gonna say, let me ask a rhetorical question. If we didn't have the funds, then what would happen to the grants?
We couldn't accomplish them.
So, without the availability of the reserve funds, we could not receive the FEMA grants.
These projects, especially the ones that we're doing right now, it's not to before construction. These are about shoreline protection, and that shoreline protection really affords all the citizens of Aransas County in some way protection. So they're good projects.
The receipts obviously reflect some reimbursement from FEMA. Is there still
Sure.
more?
Oh, yeah, much more.
We hope
Good.
about 6 million.
I hope so.
Good deal.
Okay, any other questions on the treasurer's report?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the treasurer's report for June 2023.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 4, consider and possible action to approve the formation of a transportation master plan. I'm going to introduce Pete, who is going to introduce Sarah. The background being that we need an updated master plan. TxDOT, Pete has been in discussion with TxDOT. TxDOT has funds, but TxDOT wants to see what our plan is and to make sure that they'd be interested in funds. And that's what we're going to try to do here, is with Sarah's help, and Judy is going to act as our coordinator, put together a master plan that TxDOT is going to think is candy. So, Pete, go ahead.
Thank you, Malcolm. As we've discussed from time to time, the state has some funds, and they'd like to know what is going on at the court before they make some of those funds available. So we had discussed the master plan and updating, because I don't think it's been updated in a long time.
That's right.
Certainly hadn't been updated enough to reflect the growth of the last couple of years. So there are things that we can do. Sarah, you want to come up? Sarah is a colleague of mine. She's with Burns and McDonald, which is a rather large engineering firm that does a ton of work. Sarah was with TxDOT before she went over to the dark side.
Hi, thank you for having me. As Pete mentioned, my background is working for the state of Texas, the legislature, and TxDOT, and I've been with Burns & McDonnell about 2 years. We're about 15,000 now worldwide, and we're an integrated engineering construction firm, which I think is important as we approach planning and engineering with a construction mindset too. Everything needs to be constructible, and we can take that into account, cost estimating and things like that. But we do quite a bit of work for ports across the country, and here in Texas, that's Port of Port Arthur's, in Pass, Corpus Christi, so doing master planning. Of course, master plans are very unique to depending on the client, so we want to make sure it's the right fit for your needs. Our biggest client in Texas for our transportation group is TxDOT, so we know TxDOT, we know how to work with TxDOT and coordinate with them on projects for our other clients as well. So we'd be happy to answer any questions or provide follow-up information, and we look forward to working with you all.
Any
What Sarah and I are going to do is go through the information that you do have and see where the holes are, and then come back to you and say, perhaps we could use some blah, blah, blah here and there, and then update some extra planning, and hopefully within 30 to 45 days, just get all of that working properly.
I have 2 questions. One, would you repeat the name of the company you work for, please?
Burns & McDonnell.
Burns, B-U-R-N-S?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Do you have a card?
that'd be great.
Sarah has a card.
Great. The other question is, can you give us a little bit of idea what kinds of projects that that TxDOT would be willing to fund?
Well, you know, and I'll defer to Sarah, they do everything from ports to transportation. So
Oh, thank you.
we're talking about better approaches to the harbor, things like that. A lot of it will show up to you when we're going through everything. And I've worked with TxDOT since 1980, I guess. And so once I see the things that are going on, we can match up some. It sounds real squishy, and I apologize, but everything from roadways to port work, to sidewalks.
Well, I mean, I think it's all we know that our biggest unfunded liability that we have right now is bulkheads. So is that something that would fit with
Yes.
some of the grants?
Yes, actually, so this legislative session, the state appropriated for the first time $200 million to TxDOT to disperse to ports for sort of inside the gate port projects. There's historically, for the last maybe 6 or so sessions, there's been funding for roadway projects connecting to ports. This was the first time where there's dedicated funding for port activities, so.
Okay.
The initial appropriation is pretty much spoken for this cycle, but TxDOT's going to be asking for projects for the next cycle to take to the legislature in the next legislative session, and with the idea of you're getting additional funding and be able to fund those projects. So
Okay.
that would be something that would be eligible.
That would be very helpful for us.
Well, here's the good news that Pete and I started talking about this. TxDOT came and talked to the county judge and said, we have funds for projects, there's a lot of money, and is there anything that will help transportation, help all of the citizens of the state, and help the community? And I initially came up with all the things that we need. And the good news is, once again, like Clean Coast, Texas, we've done an awful lot of the work that will need to be done. So we should be looking pretty good once we kind of hand over this to somebody like Sarah that can put it all together. The big thing is Little Bay. Those of y'all that don't look at it this way, that's our largest harbor. It has no boaters amenities. It is silted in for various reasons. One of the big reasons it's silted in, and we have documentation and engineering on this, was a major rainfall event 3 years in a row that washed sediment from the highway department project as well as some construction projects and created huge deltas, flowed into our channels. In between the time that we engineered a dredge project to go all the way up to the Key Allegro Marina, and the time we got the money and started the project, we had 8 inches. It had
changed that much.
That much of sedimentation in these channels, so we were only able to get so far and do so much. In our turning basin, we've got all of the sedimentation that's come in. We know that we've been in these battles for stopping sedimentation, but that's a big deal. And we have 2 marinas that are waiting to commence to get this into a navigation or a navigable position. We think it needs to be about 8. We think the nationwide permit will show that it was about 8. So we've done that. We've done the sedimentation control. Then you go to Rockport Harbor. We have all the bulkhead issues and the transportation. We've got huge shortage worldwide for large boat slips. Keith says he gets calls at least 2 or 3 times a week for large boat slips. So that's there, and that's a prime development. And then Cove Harbor, not only have we done the stormwater runoff, but that also includes the bulkheading, which that bulkheading will also enable much better transportation. We're kind of behind on that, and possibly even access. So we've got a lot of the studies. I think you'll be pretty happy not having to hurt as many cats as possible in some other projects. So I'm excited about the capability.
Outstanding. Any other questions? If not, I'll,
Yes, Jeff?
Has the county been approached to work with you guys on this? Because I know when TxDOT did their report last year, they identified marine, aviation, and, roadsways. So the aviation part in the airport, have y'all considered reaching out to the county and working with them on a kind of a joint project?
This
we would consider it.
This started out working with the county. That's how we found out about it. And Councilman Brundrett was also there when I stirred this up with Pete. I went back and asked them, I said, do y'all have any competing projects so we can take that into account? They said no, they like the idea of both. So at least we'll have the county's cooperation, who knows, on the other
And
side.
we will, of course, keep the county informed, and perhaps there is something we can do together. Yeah, be great.
You'll need all those letters of recommendation, which we are very good at getting together, by the way.
So, any other questions? If not, yes, Pat.
Sarah, can I get one of your cards, please?
If there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion. Who would like-
There is no motion. Oh, do we have an action? Do
We have an action.
We do?
Vote to proceed?
Yes. Is that
I make a motion that we proceed.
A second.
motion made to proceed? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Whoops.
Jerry's got something over here.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I suggest you need a motion to actually hire Pete's firm and Sarah's firm to do this work. You have a contract
With Peter already.
but the scope of it doesn't probably include this specifically. And you either have Sarah work through Pete's firm, or you need to have a motion to hire those two firms for the project.
So, question, Pete, does the scope that y'all, or the things you're already doing for us, would it include this? Or do we need to make an addition?
We have a very open scope, so I'm happy to go back to it, Malcolm, and look. And we can start, and then if we need something, you can do it at your August meeting.
Can Tommy just amend his motion?
It's working through Pete's firm and
Yes.
Pete's scope.
We have no motion.
So,
Yeah, that's the way we kind of discussed it. Pete, with our current situation with support in Austin, it made sense for Pete to play that role and guide this whole program, and being in our PR, his group is in charge of putting all our stuff together in a much better format than we have been able to in the past. So I thought that it fell under that purview as well.
And it will be in a better format than you've had. And
So far, so good.
So, considering that, Jerry, do you feel that the motion and everything is sufficient?
okay. Okay.
So that was Tommy made the motion, Judy seconded.
Second.
Okay, we have a vote.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. Again.
Thank you very much. Look forward to work with you. Harbor Masters reports, item number 5.
I got a few things on this particular report. We had a group from Texas A&M University out of Corpus Christi, led by Coral Ledesma, PhD, that is doing surveys of all of the beaches that are currently on the Texas Beach Watch testing program. They brought in a whole truckload of students, and they did a walking survey of our I guess you would say beach attendants, that people that were here on site. They had a lot of questions for them to answer, and what they thought was important to them. Cleanliness, trash, restrooms, showers, parking, safety, water quality, all of those things is being put together in a survey, and eventually, once they get finished with all the beaches that are on the Texas Beach Watch schedule, we'll get a copy of what they believe are the most important things to our visitors. Texas Beach Watch is I think a vital portion of what we try to present to the public. You can look up Texas Beach Watch on their website. You'll know what the water qualities are. I'm very proud to say that 99% of the time, our water quality is some of the best anywhere in the state. And I think people are really getting used to looking at that site and making their choices on where they'd like to go to the beach based on those analytical surveys. So I thought that was nice that they came out, and I'll look forward to seeing and presenting what those surveys came up with. But I don't have to tell anyone who lives in Aransas County or visits Aransas County that we're not busy. Saturday was another over-the-top day, especially with market days and other side events going on. So our facilities are getting used quite vigorously. That includes all the boat ramps. Most of our boat ramps are running at or over 100% capacity each day, especially on the weekends. To a point that they're going beyond the parking places provided and parking down the side of the roadways.
I saw that.
So, as talking with Sarah, we'll be talking about roads in, roads out, transportation-related issues, because all of this has to do with public safety as well. But that survey is going to give us some really direction, I believe. The next, wind and trash. I know everybody has my phone number, and if you're in Aransas County and you don't have my phone number, I guess you're feeling left out because everybody else has it. If there's a piece of trash that's blown out of a can, yes, we know about it and we're on it, and we're addressing that as fast as you can. If you go through any of our properties, you will see the multitude of large roll-off trash boxes. And I hate to say we need that many on the facility, but we do, and we use it. So for those who are very conscientious about picking up their trash and throwing it in a disposal, thank you. For those who tend to throw it on the ground and rely on our staff to pick it up, shame on you.
Yeah.
Help us. But those things are going forward every single day. Our staff works these facilities all over the county 365 days a year. Christmas morning, I have people cleaning restrooms and picking up trash. So yes, sometimes it gets out ahead of us. What you have to realize when we are that busy, it's hard to bring trucks and trailers and all those things and work around children and vehicles. We don't want to run into anybody. We don't want to run over a child. So when that crowd slacks down, we really jump on that and try to get caught up. Hopefully by a few hours after our morning starts, we're caught up and everybody sees it as a finished product as they're used to seeing. I hate to say that comes with the crowds, comes with other things I don't like to speak of, and that's vandalism. Our showers take the brunt of it. If we can't get a handle on that, it may be a time that we won't have showers because they're tearing them up as fast as we can rebuild them, to the point that they're pull the pipes out of the walls.
And this is in the indoor pavilions?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, adding to that, I've asked Keith to purchase some kind of doors, locks, because I think it's happening at night after most of the families have gone home. So I'm recommending to Keith that we lock them up at a certain time in the evening.
We're going to have to.
We just can't keep replacing piping and all this stuff.
At times, we'll do $1,000 a day repairs. But we try our best to keep them open, keep them clean. So if you and I went in there, you wouldn't be afraid to go into one of these facilities and use it.
It may be time, especially as we go into our budget process, to start phasing out the indoor showers and expanding our outdoor capabilities, because those tend to hold up a little better, don't they?
Yeah, you're not as, I guess you would say, apt to go vandalism wild if somebody can see you.
Right.
Exactly.
But those are things we're gonna address through not only our budget season, but how we plan on going forward on that. And that's a shame, but it's not just the showers, handrails. You know, we had a big section of our handrail out here on the breakwater that they just broke off physically, broke it off. So as you saw in our accounts payable, we repaired those things.
I saw that.
But the fact is, these are issues that we deal with, and maybe the popularity and just sheer numbers, that's just what you get when you have all that. But I would like to think our fellow Texans would not treat facilities in that way. The next thing I would like to bring up is a lot of people are asking me, why is the circle closed? The circle's been closed since 4th of July. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Do I need more space to put people? Of course we do. Right now, this year, the skimmer hatch is better than we've seen it in decades. Right now, just a raw count standing there looking over the fence, we've seen at least 60, if not more, baby skimmers, little balls of fur. And if we open that up, they won't last. And what I mean is sometimes photographers like to get closer and closer and closer, and sometimes vehicles don't realize that coastal baby birds just do not fly, and so we lose a lot of them to being run over. So in saying those things, we've kept the circle closed until those baby skimmers can take flight. But it is very encouraging that a lot of the measures that we've been taking over the years is paying off with better numbers on the skimmer colony. In closing, I will say, Malcolm and I took a trip to Austin. It was a very subdued trip for a reason that we lost a colleague, a friend, someone who worked not only for the district, but he was probably one of the best representatives of our community around our state, and that was Mario Martinez. He was probably respected as well as any other person from both sides of the aisle. His service proved that by the list of dignitaries and guest speakers who spoke at his memorial service. And I have to say, if I could only aspire to be as cared for, loved, and respected as Mario Martinez was, I would feel very honored. But we lost a great friend and an ally to the navigation district and our county. He owned a house here in Key Allegro for a couple of decades. He lost that property during the hurricane, so he's felt our pain and has represented us with all of his heart. So in that, I would say, goodbye to Mario, and it was pretty hurtful for those of us who cared and loved him. That's all I got.
Okay, I would like to follow up on the trash and the cleanup. Forever, as long as I've been on the district, we've always had people come up the next day and comment on how y'all are like ants out there getting everything ready for the next day. So y'all are very, very good at cleaning up after the party, which is kind of the natural progression. So congratulations to your team, and please.
Sad but true, Tommy.
Yep,
Sad but true.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, I think Keith very eloquently described our feelings on the passing of Mario. It was a sudden thing. It was actually in San Antonio, and he just passed over. Heart attack. That could not be treated, so he was gone. And we'll all miss him. And like Keith said, he's extremely respected. Ex-Governor Rick Perry was the first one who spoke at the memorial service. And sad as it was, I don't think it could have been done better. I don't think he could have been honored more than he was. Okay, moving on to my item, where I talk about environmental, Little Bay, etc. things. I do have something. The Navigation District has requested open records request on two of the city's ongoing projects. One is the Council Street Drainage Project. And what we asked for is all plans and specifications regarding to the Council Street Drainage project. And this was done through our Haynes and Boone. We asked the same thing on the 7 Isle and Orleans Magnolia drainage improvements through an open records request, and this was back, like I said, on the 21st of June. We received a response from the city saying that they were going to refer this request to the Attorney General for his opinion. And they listed some reasons why they were going to do this with the promise of a follow-up. They've listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 possible exceptions. Later on, they promised that they would redefine that to our attorneys, which they did. And they redefined it to something I thought was kind of unusual, but we'll see how it works out. And that's the fact the city's afraid of security issues, that any information they give the navigation district concerning this, these 2 drainage projects could be used by terrorists. We laugh at that, but you know, nobody wants to give anything to anyone that could be used against us here in the United States. I might think it's highly unlikely that terrorism will be targeted stormwater drainage systems, but that's not for me to say necessarily. The reason I brought this up at all is because I want to explain why we requested this information. One of the things that is most important, and is part of our mission, is to make sure that we don't get silted up, that our harbors and our bays remain navigable. And one of the problems with stormwater drainage systems is when it rains, what happens? You get a lot of silt, you get a lot of sand, you get a lot of trash. So when a new plan, a larger plan is developed, what we need is the information about that plan to determine what the impact might be, say, on the concho, which is going into Rockport Harbor, and the other one, which is going into Little Bay. We have not received any information that any environmental impact study was done or any modeling has been done, so we don't have that information. So we asked for it because we intend to take that information and have an engineer whom we will choose to gauge the impact of these additional systems we'll have. And that's why we wanted it. I don't think anyone would reach an agreement before they know what the effects of the agreement might be. So we will keep everybody appraised. The Attorney General has 45 days to render his opinion. We have asked Haynes and Boone to file a brief in response so that the Attorney General might get the indication of why we requested this and why we need it. So I'll keep everybody appraised of what the decision is and when the decision comes down so that we can begin the process of evaluating these storm drainage systems.
I would like to make an update on that. Over the past probably 4 months, we have had conversations in what looked like a really good working relationship with the city and moving to an acceptable answer. In fact, even one point, the construction was going on. I came to Councilman Brundrett, and we talked about it's coming. We need to get our agreement squared away. I was assured that there were sediment catchment being designed into the system and put in. It all ends up it was not true. We asked for information on any updates with it, and they tell us that they're going to send it to the Attorney General to delay it because it might fall in the hands of terrorists. I feel that we are 100% back to square one with our community and relationship with the city on these drainage systems, and we have worked very, very hard, speaking of Pete's presentations and help to get our message out. We put political pressure. It was going in the right direction, but they just turned around and went the other way, and it really hurts my heart because I really thought we were going to get some stuff done, but we're back to square one, so here we come, public.
Isn't this a response after, I don't need it in my face, Tommy.
Yeah, you do.
Isn't this a response from when we hired, as of hiring the attorney that we hired to go towards the city and get these answers done? Is this a response that we got after that?
Yes.
We didn't have that response before.
That's correct.
So now we got it after we hired the attorney. So they felt threatened by the attorney evidently, is the way I see it.
Well,
So that was my beginning response when we were decided about hiring an attorney. What this was going to happen is going to throw us further back, and that's what has happened now. So
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on
I wanted
that.
to clarify that's what my intentions were, to not to keep the projects being held up, but it did. So that's my opinion, and my opinion only, Tommy, okay?
It is, and that is your opinion, and I will come back and try to clarify my opinion. That's why we had to hire this firm, because we were slipping back, so.
Well, look, we've hired them. They are acting as an agent for the navigation district. They are not a third party per se. Any response to these attorneys is a response to the navigation district. Let me make that clear. Every government organization or entity that I'm aware of has attorneys working for them. Why would it be any different that the navigation district has attorneys working for them?
And we also have the original Concho Street plan. Do we have the Orleans Street plan? They never gave us that, ignored our request.
Okay. Press questions? No press questions, thank you, Mike. Well, did you have a question? Yes. Oh, you just waved at me, okay. Okay, I want to thank everyone for being here. Notice, we are going to go into an executive session in just a few minutes, but there is an item that is to be voted on after the executive session is over, and if you'd like to come back and hear what we do on that particular item, please let Keith know. You can wait out there, of course, or we can give you a call. So once again, thank you for being here. But at this time, in which is 9:36, the commission will recess this open meeting and conduct a closed meeting pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act to conduct a private consultation with its attorney who is present, and section 551071, to deliberate regarding property under section 551.072, or to pursue or deliberate personnel matters under section 551074. Thank you for being here. If you're going to be called back, please let us know. We will. 10:29.
Video?
The item before us is the consider and to execute a lease document for Cove Harbor Plot 12, that's approximately actually 2.5 acres, for Lydia and Channel Mooring LLC, previously approved at a regular meeting on June 30, 23. ACND required a site plan proposal improvements and to be submitted before the execution of the lease contract. All I have to say is we have that, and we have a contract that has been approved by our attorney. Now, I will open it up for discussion.
I would like to make a statement. My plan is to make the motion, but first I'd like to say that, as evident by the recent votes and other delays that we've had some vigorous debates about leasing this plot 12, which is otherwise known as 320 Cove Harbor South. My plan is to approve the final lease documents. We've already approved giving the lease to LAC. This is the wording of the final documents, and that will be leasing the tract to Lydia Ann Channel Fleet. And this is an organization that already has a significant presence in our community, and it will finalize, today's vote will finalize the previous 4-0 vote taken on July 20th to lease this property to LAC. I'm going to give some reasons why I'm going to make this motion. One is location. In recent years, as you all have known, if you've been out there, noticed that Cove Harbor has evolved over recent years so that the south side is mostly industrial to light industrial, while the north part is recreational, retail, and commercial uses. This tract 12 is between Derrick Construction and Hooking Bull, both of which, and so the use proposed by LAC is completely compatible with these two uses. I'm going to talk about reputation and our experience. LAC is a known tenant with an excellent payment record, and since they already have a lease, long-term lease nearby, they are not likely to leave. This is almost a no-risk proposal for the ACND. LAC has also shown proven growth and sustainability. Since February of 2016, LAC has taken a very rundown property at 111 Cove Harbor, and they've invested $1.5 million in office and warehouse facilities, and recently a new concrete parking and driving area. Company now has 110 employees and an annual payroll of $12 million. Payroll of $12 million. That averages out to more than $109,000 per employee. Financial reasons, LAC has agreed to the lease rates recommended by our real estate consultant, and those rates start at $70,000 a year for the first 5 years and will go to $84,000 per year for the second 5 years. Wade Green, our consultant, has evaluated both of the proposals, and in his opinion, we have a much lower risk with LAC as opposed to going to a new project with a person who has not been involved in this kind of project before. And the last thing is timing. LAC is ready to move into the property immediately and use it as is. They've outgrown their existing location, and the plans include an 8,000 square foot warehouse plus a new 750,000 square foot training facility for employees with classrooms, conference room, and a state-of-the-art full bridge simulator. Now, there are some community benefits, and I know that some people will say maybe we shouldn't discuss or we shouldn't consider that, but I disagree. LAC plans to work with the Rockport-Fulton High School's Maritime Department and Texas Coastal Academy, and when they finish with this project, there will be the most advanced high school maritime training facility in Texas. We as commissioners need to remember that not only are we elected to manage the ACND properties, we're also elected to represent the community. And in my belief, this development and this project will hugely benefit the entire area, especially RFISD students. For all of these above reasons, I move that we approve the lease documents we have before us for Plot 12 at 320 Cove Harbor South, confirming the lease that we approved on July 20th to Liddy and Channel Fleet. And that's my motion.
Yes, a motion has been made. Further discussion.
I've got a statement.
Of course you do.
At a previous meeting which I was unable to attend, my fellow commissioners voted to ignore a competing proposal to negotiate a lease for Plot 12 at Cove Harbor with LAC Fleet, leaving at least 40% of lease value on the table. And that is based on talks and negotiations of where that distance was. The commissioners were fully aware of the additional interest in this property and the added value it could create in a competitive environment. Today, you're going to justify your actions based on the risk between two proposals. There are two problems with this. One is you don't have all of the information, and two, don't seem interested in getting it. Two, the risk gap closes as if that information is in and in a positive environment. But none of this keeps us from leveraging the competitive proposal to negotiate a better deal with a preferred tenant. The commission has worked very hard to bring our leases up to market rates over 14 years that I've been in office, and we have been very successful in doing so. In the early days of the commission, in order to develop our harbor properties, the commission made long-term deals with the tenants at very low rates in return for bulkheads and other improvements to the property. The problem was that the leases outlived the improvements, leaving no money for repairs or renovation. I'm concerned that this attitude is again creeping into the commission, and I'm asking for your help to remind our commissioners that our job is not to subsidize businesses, but to gain maximum value for the Aransas County taxpayers. There are other large-scale leasing opportunities coming up in the near future, and I'm concerned that the commission may not take the fiduciary responsibility to lease out these properties in a business manner. I doubt any of you would make these same decisions if it was your personal property. And with that, I will say getting more information and using the competitive environment in a government property to get the highest value available. A little over a year ago, the commissioners approved a long-term lease on the beach for 2 retail buildings and a large deck at $250 a month for 10 years, which is the price of a month-to-month lease for a single food truck. I voted against it. In all fairness, LAC Fleet is an outstanding company and an outstanding tenant, and I would be very happy for them and the district if they won the competitive process. I also want to be clear that there's nothing illegal in how this was handled, but it is definitely misfeasance in not entering into competitive proposals from 2 interested parties, both of which, in my mind, are highly qualified to execute their respective business plans. There are a couple of major flaws in the lease that is proposed, and I would hope that we would clear these up and possibly use it to negotiate better value for both LAC Fleet and the district. One is the risk of siltation from failure of the bulkheads, and number 2, being able to capitalize the bulkheads, but that's kind of been cleared up. So.
Okay, thank you, Tommy. Any other commissioner have anything to say? Well, I guess it's my turn. I think that the problem that exists, number one, I disagree that this is not a market rate. That the analysis that was given to us by Wade, our real estate consultant, is market rate. And therefore, we are not giving anyone a sweetheart deal. And number 2, land use. I honor Jeff, and I think he has a good development program, but I don't think it is for that piece of property. He's surrounded by industrial, and that portion of Cove Harbor, we have always designated as to be our industrial side. To put a high-end development is a great idea somewhere else, but it is not a good idea for that piece of property. Risk factor, beside. If there was no risk factor, I would still think, since we have LAC Fleet who would use that property in an area where it would fit perfectly with the other properties in that area, would be the way to go. So I'll second the motion that was made by Judy. I will just say this, if we can find another piece of property on the other side of Cove Harbor or anywhere else, we'll certainly love to hear your proposals and do what we can to get them developed and find a place for you to do what you want to do. But it's just not at that piece of property. I'm not even sure. No, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
I would like to say that I don't think there's anyone here on this commission who's objecting to your concept of the
No.
development at all. I mean, we all think it's probably a good idea. It's something that would fit a niche market. I'm not sure how deep that market is, but we could find that out.
Yeah, it's-
But
But-
my idea is, they pass it, but they forget about the environment. Y'all been fighting the environment for years. Okay? Bear with me. Y'all fight environment for years. From Ski Basin or Little Bay. You've been out and testing, what you call that, Tulip Creek for environment. Okay, so they pass it and give it to LAC. My concern is the bulkhead. If you can't get that to stop, why we go out there and fight environment for the Little Bay? When are we gonna start?
I appreciate your concern.
Understand that, I understand,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to say
I
to
Sure.
get these people to understand why we here. If we don't start now, a little bit, environment,
Yes.
what we gonna do later?
We tried like hell to get a grant. that we-
Chairman.
That we did
Excuse
not
me, sir.
get.
We
For
have,
the
we
whole
have a
of
motion
Cove Harbor.
and
Yeah,
a
we have a
second.
motion and a second.
Let's put it to vote, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's call for the vote.
no one else wants to speak? We'll leave it the way it is. All in favor?
Let's call for it.
Now let me read it out here again.
Oh,
All
you
in-
got somebody that'd like to speak?
Oh, yes, go ahead, Terry. No, go right ahead if you'd like to.
Will you go to the podium?
I have to.
We're streaming, man.
We're streaming.
live.
If not, you won't get picked up. I don't care about that. I just, I'm
Okay.
talking to you
Let
guys.
us speak then.
Fair enough.
Y'all are the voters, so I brought Barry Williams down here. He was one of the, primary investors, and I'd like it cleared up to him how you guys, I understand everything you said, but how do you go from knowing you have another proposal to just skirting around and making it go away and coming right back? I mean, we basically postponed 1 week for nothing to table what y'all did at the last meeting. So can y'all explain to him, as somebody who's gonna come dump 7-8 million into this community, also, how you did that? Just as a voter, that's what I wanna know. This is a homeowner here also, he's a taxpayer also. So he can go back and say, here's why we should never come back to Aransas County with the next property that you guys all at once want me to take. Once you found out that you got over your skis and you already gave it to LAC. So, we would like to do business here. I live here, I'm from here.
Sure.
This guy's in Dallas and he comes down here all the time, wants to be part of it. But I want him to understand why he shouldn't just yank out and go elsewhere to a different county or a different town, to Port O'Connor, to somewhere else. As I'm trying to reel them back in for the properties you guys are hopefully gonna be able to present down the road now that you know what I wanna do.
Maybe that's a discussion we should have after the meeting. I mean,
Well,
maybe-
no,
I've been working on this for 3 years. and
Open discussion,
I'm
sorry.
just curious, how
You have
y'all knowingly go to vote? In May, you told me in April, but in May I started presenting stuff. In June, before y'all voted to give to them, I met with Tommy and Wade and I presented and I said, let me know what y'all need. I get it that you've already gone this far, but just let me know what you need to hear from me to satisfy the boxes I need to check, to just get considered. That's all I asked.
You
And
weren't-
Apples to
you
apples.
did.
And I met with you, Malcolm, hold on, just let me, I've been working this a long time, just let me say my piece. I checked every box that y'all raised a concern for. The bulkhead's not cement, yes it is. You don't have the financing, I said, I can send you more financing than you ever wanna see with my partners and myself. The property's not gonna work. Well, with all due respect, we're not that dumb that we would invest millions and millions of dollars on that side of the harbor and not think it would work. Long, your concern is the bulkhead, so that's the first thing we're gonna put in, and I don't want one penny off the lease. I wanna put a bulkhead in so that I can make my business work. I haven't seen that from LAC. I'm sure now they're going to do that in time, but I'm just saying, every box that you guys wanna check, we checked. And all I said is make it a fair process. I'm offering you more money, put the bulkhead in. To your point about creating a bunch of jobs, I mean, I'm not the smartest person, but we bring all these people in who wanna invest in this project, in this community, and buy houses here and be, I mean, it's all marine based, what you guys represent.
We understand that.
And here's all the stuff, just tell me what you need, from me to at least give you an apples, 2 sets of plans sitting there, and let's at least bring them in and just say, here's why we're not gonna go with it. And until the last 2 weeks, you know, I heard from you one time, I respect you having a meeting with me, but all we basically did between both of y'all was say, hey, we've already gone this route, let's go look at some other property, we're sorry. And I respect you, Malcolm, I really do. It was a good meeting. Long, I told you the same thing. You know, I have my concerns with, and I appreciate you saying what you did. Martin, I called you, I never heard back. You know, Tommy, I've talked to you a bunch of times, so Keith, I've known you forever.
Yeah.
I mean, we've worked together, but I also know your concerns that you brought up, and I tried to, as a business person, address all of them. And so it's frustrating. And I got somebody here that's been with me forever with the money to back a great project, and I can't even give them I can't lay it out. It just, not as a businessman, I've had deals go wrong, so I can live with that, but as a voter and one of y'all's constituents, especially yours in your district, it makes me want to take that business elsewhere and do everything I can in my power to never let something like this happen again. That's all I got to say about it, so.
Well, it's not an easy decision. I think we've addressed the reasons why we feel LAC Fleet is the best choice. We have to make the decision.
Totally understand that. I'm
Yes.
just asking how you.
No
got to this.
deficiency on your part. It just comes down to me.
What steps did we not take?
Mr. Chairman, we got a vote.
Well, I'd like to hear.
We need to answer to the public.
Yes, ma'am.
Look, we're not gonna argue. I want him to know how y'all got there. That's what he's asking me.
Is it okay if we follow up on this? Because I can go into more detail. Jeff, we've spoken, and make sure that you guys understand the risk evaluation.
Totally understand.
Okay. So
Totally
I want to make sure you understand that.
I understand. I'm asking those 5 voters how only in the last few weeks that whole big risk analysis got put together. And really the last week, I think, after y'all tabled, guys, it doesn't pass the smell test. It doesn't look right
Really?
as a voter. It really doesn't.
Well, I'll ask one last question. If we were to tell LAC Fleet yes and then go back and tell them no, would that pass the smell test?
You got there, not me. I didn't get myself in that position. Y'all did.
Well,
You failed to show up 2 meetings ago when we were discussing this.
Did you ever tell me, hey, we're gonna vote 2 meetings ago, so make sure
You have an agenda item here,
I didn't know that.
and you need to look at the agenda item. If you're that interested in your project, you can follow the agenda item, because we post the agendas out here, and we post them. And Mr. Keith over here has them also. All you gotta do is ask, but you failed to do that, and you said that yourself
So you guys.
on an email that you sent out.
Did you guys, so y'all.
So
put it
it's,
out to
and
the
the other
public
thing I was
that
gonna entertain is, if you called me, that call never came to my cell phone, or I never recognized that number, or you never left a message, because I never got it,
okay.
okay?
I think,
There's gonna be winners.
I'm sorry, but we have to make a decision.
That's what I said to
And,
do with.
so, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of, execute the lease document for Cove Harbor, Lily and Channel, LAC Fleet Mooring. We have the documents that we requested. All in favor of giving this lease to LAC Fleet, say aye.
Aye.
All against?
Yay, nay.
And I will preface my vote with the fact that we have some ambiguity and some actual physical risks in the harbor that are not being addressed, which is bulkhead failure and siltation, and the fact that this did not go to a competitive bid. I vote nay.
Okay. Vote passes 3-2.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Easy thing.
Well, okay. We are going now into another meeting, aren't we lucky?
Are we gonna
We don't have to say the
close
pledge and
this one
everything
and go
again,
into
do we?
another?
No, just
Yeah.
adjourn one.
We need to adjourn this meeting. It is 9:49. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, Wade. We won't need you. All in favor? Aye, of course, yes.
Aye.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hey, why do we have to do 2 meetings on this?
sure.
Because you've got to show it that it's an official meeting, budget workshop.
Yes.
A budget has to be a
Thank you,
workshop.
Chief.
That's until we get ready to approve it. We'll have it as other items.
Right,
That's
right,
just,
right.
You know, all this freedom and
It's new legal.
taxation and all these different things, we gotta show we have these things, so.
But why not just an agenda item in the meeting to discuss it? I'm just
We're
curious.
just trying to keep it.
Separate.
Because we got Jack Wright and others barking.
There you go.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Do we really have to do the pledge again?
No.
Open meeting subject for deliberation and/or action, deliberating possible action regarding the 2024 budget with the next right? Keith, outline it for us.
Yes, really, this is our kickoff of budget season. We're trying to get the
close.
last bit of our June bills paid, and that's going to give us a very good 1/2 year of our budget expenditures. On our August 7th meeting, I'll bring that in so y'all be able to see the percentages down every line item that we have in our budget, where we've spent too much or if we're on par for hitting our budget targets. We will use that to help us formulate our 2024 budget. Well, what I would like to tell you is we're turning in some things to the tax assessor and others to help her formulate what our tax rate would be. I think y'all need to start thinking, are we going to stay at the effective rate? Or if so, I think now they call it the no new tax revenue rate. If we're going to do that, we'll start working backwards along that assumption. Also, something I need you to consider as commissioners, are y'all wanting to do a cost of living raise for the employees? If so, put in your thinking cap for the 7th what you would like to see that number be. And we'll start formulating and getting all of your input. Also, is there any projects or procedures you would like to see put forward for 24? I know we're going to be looking at some grant opportunities through TxDOT and others, but if any of you have any special projects that we need to budget for, bring that into the August 7th meeting. But this is really our kickoff. We get through the 4th of July, we get all of our June numbers and bills paid, and then we really start heavy budget cycle considerations. But this is kind of our official kickoff. These are things I'm asking from the commission to pull together so we can help those calculations. I will say this year we do not plan on, from staff side, recommending any change in rolling stock, no trucks. We will put in some money for some mules or the vehicles that we use down on the beach. They're they have a short lifespan, as you know. They're out there in the salt 365 days a year. Our backhoe is getting a little long in the tooth. It's over 20 some odd years old, and in these elements that we use it in, it's starting to get pretty rough. We're going to try to baby that through one more year without purchasing. If it gets to a point through the year that repairs are going to distance the, I guess you would say, its use factor, then we'll probably do some rental equipment to subsidize that. But for this coming budget cycle, I do not think we need to put a backhoe on that. We're gonna try to keep ourselves into a point that we can do some of these other projects. As you know, we have a lot of matching funds and things that are going out. So, that's kind of my overview right now, going into the 2024 budget. So if there's any of those things that you would like to see added or recommendations on different projects, start putting that together, get that to me before the August 7th meeting, and we'll start building that at least draft budget using the number that we got from Anna Marshall's last year, which, you know, they always try to factor that within a close percentage. You know, it may be up or down, you know, a few $1,000s from the amount that we taxed the year previously, but we'll start using that number to help build our budget. So if you have any questions or thoughts from me,
I do.
I'd be happy to try to answer.
Well, two things. One is, I think generally I hear that from everybody that we all are interested in more money for bulkheads.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think as much, whatever we can build in, just keep that in mind, or maybe it goes into reserves and becomes part of our bulkhead fund. The other thing is, I would like to see us put into the personnel budget money to make that transition. I don't know that if you guys are aware that right now, when our employees work from Monday to Friday, and they get paid for that week on Friday, which creates issues for our.
To get us in the rears.
To get us, yeah, and so we're redoing, my understanding is that means there's a lot of work redoing towards the end of the week. And so Jeff, our consultant, has recommended that we go to we pay a week in arrears, so they work from Monday to Friday, and then they get paid the following Friday, which gives our staff people time to get that all worked up, and they're not in such a frantic.
And we'll work on that.
And so that's, the way to do that, in my opinion, is just give everybody, and not put that on the back of our employees, but give everybody an extra week pay to tide them over during that transition. So I'm just asking for money for that transition.
The end game there is to farm out payroll.
Yes,
That's what we're gonna end up doing, and take it off.
but we have to take this first step.
That's correct.
This is our first step.
I just want everyone to realize the end game is to go ahead and get a professional firm to do payroll for us. It's a lot
Right.
safer, and in the long run, will be a lot better for the ACND.
On the budget regarding bulkhead, as you saw, we have a little bit of money set aside in a bulkhead fund. At one time, we had
$2 million.
we had quite a bit in there.
600,000 or 700,000.
And, excuse me, we used that for another bulkhead project that was in Cove Harbor where we were having a lot of erosion. You know, we built on that several years. We're gonna have to find cuts in other areas so we can start building that fund up again. 1 year's funding does not a bulkhead make, I guess you would say.
No,
So
but we are
as
gonna-
we build up, you know, 4 or 5 years of adding, you know, a few $100,000 in a bulkhead fund, we'll eventually have enough in there to pull the trigger and do some of those bulkheads, which we've done in the past. We've been quite successful of doing that in the past. No different than we raised and held funding over a 10-year period when we built this building. So if that's where you want to see some money set aside in some of these funds to start increasing our ability to do that, that'll be an area in the budget that we
Well, we
need to
certainly will
consider.
need to allocate money for this long-term, this study that we are gonna have, that Sarah's going to do for us. There's a cost for that. Now, some, and we also don't know if there's gonna be any matching for this, if we do get a TxDOT grant. Do we know
The
that?
matching funds with TxDOT in the past have been quite considerable. Before the hurricane, I attended a lot of those meetings. That's why I had met her previously. Some of those, like I said, was quite substantial matches. But I guess we'll consider that when we get our master plan put together. But it's gonna basically give us a plan moving forward and how we want to budget
Okay.
for long-term projects.
I'm just
But
asking
that's
if
where
those
we are.
things be included.
Yes, well,
What are you trying to say here? Is this your budget for last year?
That is
Last year, this
that's
year?
what we're on right now,
Okay, and this is what you spent?
so far.
Okay, So when you present the budget, are you gonna put another column up
We're
there?
gonna have a whole, when we come in on August 7th, you're gonna see a year-to-date number as of June 30.
Like we did last year?
And it'll be all down the side, because right now, we're still paying bills that are outstanding, we're getting invoicing in from June right now, even though we're halfway through July. You know, it's, the billing cycles of different groups are a little different, but we're gonna try to get a good breakdown of a full 6 month of our expenditures, and we'll be able to lay it right beside our budget that we're active right now. And that'll let us know pretty well where we are on that. I will say, like most people's budgets, most entities, there's not a lot of capital in there that isn't already spoken for. You know, some of the, you know, light bill, water bill, phone bill, insurances, labor, fuel, gas, all the different things that make up our budget. Most years, you know, it's within a few percentage of the year prior unless we get some big increases. For an example, our fuel oil that we use, gasoline and so forth, you know, these budgets are just a very, I guess you would say, a scientific estimate. If the fuel price drops to $2, we're gonna be a little
wouldn't call it
fat
scientific.
in that category. If it goes up to $5 a gallon, we're gonna be a little lean. And so this is just where we try to work to try to give us a good estimation of what we believe our expenses for any given year. And some years we've done quite well. And then other years, COVID years, and where the price of things went up, we didn't do as well. But that's what this dance is going to start. Yeah, this dance will start on the 7th, and I'll have a lot more numbers to show you.
And we need to make sure that we meet every statutory requirement for this budget system, because you know it's going to be looked at by
Yes.
Jack and some of the.
I have an envelope here that says that we met every single statutory, being on
Okay.
amended budgets, and Mr. Wright has not been back in here.
But that's what I have. This is kind of the kickoff party, and I just wanted to kind of let y'all know if y'all have some things and some items that you would like to see,
I will bring them to you personally.
you get them in, and we'll start using that to help balance this thing out.
Very good.
But that's all I really had on today.
Okay, could I hand out what I have here? This is the financial comparisons with our district, with other districts, the smaller districts. And this is just, I'm gonna hand this out just as part of your materials to look at while we're thinking about this. And this is just, selected Texas Navigation did their current budgets and the reserves. This is just for us to look, like ours is our current budget, this is past year, 5.35 million, our reserves are 7 million, and now I know that number's probably changed. This was done in January. And the average, or the totals for these several small districts is, the total budgets are 33.9. Yeah, Matagorda is outrageous, you know. Their annual budget's 1.25 million, and then their reserves are 16 million, but that's a star number, if you look down at the bottom. Anyway, the average is usually 212, most reserves are 212% of their annual budget, and we're at 131%. So our reserves are really low.
In comparison.
In comparison to these other.
But these are
smaller-
good comparisons to show.
These are good comparisons.
What does that actually mean to us?
It means that we need to build up our reserves,
Well,
you know?
within budgetary constraints.
Within budgetary
Well,
constraints, of
sure,
course.
but I think it's I think we needed to look at this, and we need to get an idea of where do we stand, so we know where we need to go.
I think its main value is when people say we have too many reserves, we break this out and show
Sure.
them we don't.
Well, good work on that, Judy, thank you very much.
Here's also, I've just got, and this is a quick breakdown on, and I'm just gonna hand this out, salaries, where we compare with the other smaller districts on salaries, number of employees, the categories are number of employees, their total payrolls, and the executive director compensation. So that just, I think the message there is we are pretty much in line with where we should be on our employee expenses compared to the others, except for our executive director compensation.
Except our commissioners don't get paid enough.
So just, that's material for you all to look at while you're looking, while we're digesting all of the
Well,
numbers
this is
that we
where,
got
this
from
is,
Pete.
this is where we start this.
That's exactly
This is
right.
where we start this thing. So any input you have that you would like me to get into these calculations for that first draft, and we'll have several drafts, before we finally get to a portion where we approve and it will be ready, to go. But, this is our starting point,
So it's gonna be what we've done before.
like we do every year.
Okay, so
Sure.
I think I can remember what we did before. Do I have,
What is our deadline again? Where we get this? We've been up crunch time a few times.
Well,
to get it
we
approved.
always do. We'd like to have it done by the end of the month,
This month?
of
August.
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 Okay, very good.
well, we'd have to have some special meetings to get it done by this.
One thing I
We
want
won't
to
have the figures.
bring up is, I see a QuickBooks P&L, which is very refreshing. So that shows we're kind of getting on track. The P&L is for 2023, so these are actual expenditures. You submitted, the adopted budget for 2023, and that's real good information. I had sent you an email asking for 2022 amended budget so that we can see what's going on up front.
That can be put-
Can we get that information to us before
Yes.
we come into these meetings? And we'd like to see it in a comparative spreadsheet if possible.
We're gonna put it in a comparative spreadsheet at 50% through the year, through June, from our 23 budget to our 23 expenditures, through June. So you'll have that in just a straight down line and a calculated percent of what that is. Is it over? You know, did we spend percent too much in that category or percent too little?
Is that what we do every year? or
That's
how-
what we
Yeah,
do.
yeah, absolutely.
I just wondered
And
if
we
this
just
was
need that
discussed.
information.
We always compare it to the previous year's budget.
We need the information sooner than later.
Yes.
The other thing is we have a super high priority, high capital investment with possibility to get help from it from outside sources, but it's the bulkhead at the Rockport Harbor front, okay?
Which one?
Rock,
The bulkhead of our property on the Rockport Harbor front side, the undeveloped property. That bulkhead is extremely important and should be a priority because we can't make any money from that property until that's done. We've waited on many things to happen. All those things have happened.
just talking
Right-
about Market Street.
Yes, Market Street.
The downtown.
Okay,
Yeah.
the
The
our
harbor
property at the Rockport Harbor front.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's very, very important, and I personally feel we ought to just get out there and do it, and we need to start planning on that, because when these guys are finished in 2 or 3 months. you
Yeah,
think?
but we got a couple more projects that's coming behind that.
For what?
The portion that goes from the cabanas in behind the yacht club all the way that ties into that portion. We're not working that because we'll tear it up in our effort to do the other. It's in 2
Okay.
pieces. And then we have, another project that is a joint project that we have with the Texas General Land Office on some beach renourishment. So we have really 3 big projects left. I would love to see some of that FEMA money start flowing back in.
Sure.
As you can see on our Treasury report, we need to see some of that flowing back in.
Agree on all of that, but we need to be ready to bulkhead that property as soon as we're finished with these. We've been putting it off for
I think that's
14
a
years.
good, I think that's a good candidate for an EDA grant.
Well,
I don't
that's
know
if we
about
get it.
EDA.
We don't have any certainty in getting grants, and there, like I said, there's possibilities. But that needs to be a priority, because that is our next step in bringing in significant revenues to the district
Agreed.
with our
Agreed.
properties. So, and right now, if we just had to do that, it would be out of the reserves.
Because that RFP that we put out, we did have quite a few interested parties. The one common denominator was they weren't gonna come in until that bulkhead was
And
done.
that's exactly what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
And we need to be prepared. Are you comfortable in our bulkhead design that's been done at this time? Is that a good direction for us to follow as far as budgeting and getting it
Yeah,
done?
prices are are crazy right now. I had one of our current contractors working on our project to come up with a pretty good price, and that was for steel with a concrete cap. That's a little cheaper than total concrete. We'll have to make that decision if we want to go one way or the other. They're the only two that will have enough strength to handle the compaction that we'll be placing on the upland. No plastic, none of that stuff that we'll do. It'll have to be either concrete, 8 inches thick, or the steel. But yeah, to make that piece viable for upcoming future work, we gotta have it.
I love all this, but this is about the budget.
Right.
Well, what do you think you pay for that stuff with, Malcolm? It's out of the budget.
Yes, well, let me tell you something. My number one priority with this TxDOT situation and getting this master plan together is to get some money to do that bulkhead. Until we find out that that's not gonna happen, I'm not gonna recommend spending our own money.
Well, that's the position.
Well, you know what? We've been
But I think we
going
need
through that.
to build up our reserves,
Hey.
and I think that is a big priority. Tommy's right. It's probably our most important priority at this time. We're talking about environmental issue. You can see how that's getting eaten up. So, yeah, we need to proceed, but rest assured, that's what we're gonna push. And see if there's a possibility TxDOT would fund that kind of bulkhead.
Well, it's about shoreline protection as
That's right.
well.
It is.
But all of this, we need to say a few prayers that we have a very light storm season. I don't even say the H word.
No, please don't.
Because all
gonna-
of these things are so contingent on it. But as you can see with what we had in our reserves, how we spent, how we've been able to do these protection and build these projects back, I have to commend the board, both the present and past, for getting us into a position that we could do that type of work. And we just gotta remain so in the future.
I want to say one more thing. In our budget workshop process last year, we had, I think it was the next to the last meeting, or may have been the last meeting, but to me, that was one of the best meetings for the public to be involved, see how we're thinking about our priorities and setting these things. We had one of our watchdogs in, and I was very glad she was here at that time. But I've really encouraged the public, and of course the streaming has made it much easier for people to be involved. But those meetings I thought were so good because we had open discussion about the priorities and what needed to happen with the district. So I hope the public will come and see how that works as we go along.
Yeah, there's probably not a group that doesn't share more than us as far as how
Yes.
the sausage is made, so to
That's
speak.
all true, but still, no matter what we do, we're gonna get those complaints by
Well,
people
did
who
it, so be
are,
it.
or shall I say biased against the navigation district.
Don't be afraid.
Okay,
All right,
shall we wrap it up?
yeah, just.
I make a
let's
motion
do
to
it.
adjourn.
I make a
I mean, you make the motion.
I'll make a
second
motion
it.
that we adjourn.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Democracy at work.